On this episode of the Pest Geek Podcast, I'm going to show you how to get more local customers using Facebook. Pull out your hose and grab your can. We're about to integrate another Pest Geek Podcast. Hi, everybody. Frank Hernandez here, and welcome to the Pest Geek Podcast, bringing you the latest news, products, and politics from today's leading industry pros, offering you their technical marketing and growth strategies to give you, the pest management professional, that killer edge. And welcome to another edition of the Pest Geek Podcast. We're going to be talking about Facebook today. And why Facebook? Well, the reality is that in the first quarter of 2015, Facebook reported it had 1.44 billion active users. That's right, 1.44 billion with a capital B active users on Facebook. And that makes it one of the largest search engines in the world where people are going on there and interacting on a daily basis. Now, we use Facebook in our business and in all of our ventures. We're using Facebook to reach a lot of people. And why? Because it is a very, very cost-effective way to acquire new customers in comparison to traditional market medias like direct mailing, which can get very, very, very expensive. Radio and television are also very, very expensive. And unless you have a specific target market that you know where your exact target market is, and let's talk about that for a couple of minutes because that's important to talk about that in any type of marketing venture. I ask people all the time, no matter what business they're in, who is your customer? And they will say, well, everybody. According to them, everybody should own their product. But the reality is another thing. The reality is that not everybody's their customer. There are three things that you really need for somebody to be your customer. Number one is they have to have a need for whatever it is that you're selling. Whether it solves a problem, fulfills a need, does anything for them, they have to be realizing that they need your product. The second thing that they need to do is they need to be able to afford to buy your product. And the third thing is they have to be willing to pay for your product. Just because they're able to afford it, and this is where a lot of people get mixed up in marketing, is just because they're targeting high-priced neighborhoods or they're targeting affluent people, they automatically will think that because these people have money, they're willing to spend it on their service. And the reality is it's not the truth. Every marketing study will show that the reality is that only about 3% of people that you target will have a need for your product at the time that they get your message. In other words, if you put out, let's just start using round numbers for marketing. And I think this is important because people think that social media, because it's free, because there's so many numbers out there, that automatically if they get involved in this or they put up a website or they invest in any type of online or new marketing, that automatically they're just going to have hundreds of thousands of people looking for them. And that is not the truth. And oftentimes the expectations are unrealistic. And we need to have realistic expectations in marketing to understand who our target market is. How do we get effective marketing? Because we can't do everything and we can't be everywhere. But the reality is that only about 3% of the people that you come in contact with will have an immediate need for your product. But just because they have a need doesn't mean that they have the ability to pay for it. And even if they had the ability to pay for it, are they willing to pay for it? So now you could really, if you talk to 100 people and you were doing prospecting through a neighborhood, let me give you the old way, and I still do this, and I still do this on occasions because it still works. But if you have certain neighborhoods and you go through it and you knock on 100 doors, how many sales could you get in a day for pest control? Well, the reality is that the best you can really hope for is 3. Because those numbers don't change. You show up to somebody's house, they don't realize they have a problem. You might have to point it out to them. Hey, do you realize you have a trail of white-footed ants going to your house? Do you realize that you have carpenter ants? Do you realize that you have this or that? They might not even know it. And you all of a sudden, you talk to them about the problem that they have, and now you have a prospect. See, a prospect isn't the 100 that you knocked on the doors. When people do selling, I've been doing selling now for about 25 years. And I try to train people on how to sell and how to go out and market. And the first thing they do is they run into this brick wall thinking that somehow, because they knocked on all these doors, that automatically they were going to be open to their product and receive them like if they were the coming of the Messiah. When the reality is that nobody really cares about you. And that's one of the things that you have to get over in the business world and in sales and marketing, that really nobody cares about you. People care about them. The number one radio station people tune into is WIIFM. What's in it for me? And in marketing and in sales, that is really your strategy. Whether you are the kind of person that's an introvert or you are an extrovert, the reality is the same. If you just talk about you, then nobody cares. But if you start talking about them and the problems they might have, then people are more receptive. But let's just say that you knocked, for the sake of this illustration and this entire podcast about comparing traditional marketing with online marketing and new media, if you knocked on 100 doors, you're going to come across 3 people probably that you can get a hold of and during the day that say they have a problem and they might need your service. And now it comes down to price and terms. And let's say you close 1 out of the 100 that you got 3 prospects on that you had. A prospect is somebody that's in front of you that either needs your product, wants your product, is able to afford it, and is willing to pay for it. That's what makes a prospect. Okay. So now you get down to terms and the contract and all this, but reality is you can only close one of them because one of them doesn't have money. The other one has to talk to the spouse and can't make any decisions, but one of them is able to because they can afford it. The product is right. The service is right. You just clicked with that customer. They liked you so much and they bought your service. So you got a closing ratio of 33%. But you spend almost an entire day to get one client. What is that client worth to you? Is that client going to be worth to you $330 for a year? Between $300 and $350? Because really pest control services haven't gone up much in the last 10 years. So if you got an initial service for $125 and you spend an hour on their property, so you made $125, and then if they agreed for the rest of the year, or is it a one-time service where you made only $250, but you spent an entire day hunting for that one customer? Well, an entire day in pest control, if you're just starting out and you don't have a penny to your name for marketing and you don't have an advertising budget and you have no customers, this really is one of the options for you because you've got nothing and you can invest nothing. So therefore you have to put in a lot of sweat equity. And I did that. I did that when I first started my pest control business. I would go out and do about 1,000 cards a day. I would knock on doors, leave them on doors. I would get 1 to 2 to 3 customers a day, but I would leave 1,000. And some of those didn't call me for a week later. So my goal was to leave 1,000. So even at those rates here down in where I am in South Florida, we were doing about, getting about 1 call for about every 1,000 that we put out. That's realistic. So let's now look at Facebook and why Facebook, for if you've got a limited budget, even companies that have unlimited budgets are working Facebook to death because they know the value of it. Let's understand where our industry is right now, because you have to know the state of the industry. Depending on where you are in the country, you might be in a little better condition than other people in other parts of the country, but the industry as a whole is stagnant. Let me explain. The industry is really not growing. And here's what happens. PCT Magazine just released their top 100 list for 2015. And in there, they have a market analysis of where the industry is. Now, they say U.S. structural pest control industry generated an estimated $7.46 billion in total service revenues in 2014. Whoopee. $7 billion, of which you might have a very small chunk. But here's where it gets worse. A 3.5% increase from the $7.213 billion measured in 2013. The market is stagnant. A 3.5% increase in revenue is like you getting a raise at your job. If you have a $100,000 route and you got a 3.5% increase, that's $3,500. If you look at the cost of doing business, if you look at the rate of inflation in this country, 3.5%, you broke even. You're just breaking even at a 3.5% increase in revenue. So there's two ways to measure growth. You can either measure growth by additional revenues brought in, numerical growth of just increase in revenue, and most of that could have been just from an increase in prices. So you can increase your price 3% a year, which is very hard to do in a lot of places. You'll be lucky if you can get a 1% increase. Or you acquire new customers to increase your revenue. Okay, so that's one of those two ways. You raise your prices or you raise the amount of customers that you get. Now, every business has attrition. Every business you're going to lose so many customers per year. I lose an average of 2 to 5% a year of the customers because they either get divorced, they move, or they die. I mean, it's just the way life is. Very few customers will leave me because of quality issues. Most of them is going to be because they lost their income or they got divorced or they sold the house and they moved to a place where I do not service. And I have a very close market niche. I make all of my business in one city with about 35,000 homes. Now, it happens to be a very affluent city, a very modern city, but reality is that that's $1 million territory that's waiting to be mined because I'm just not even getting to the bottom of it. And I believe I'm one of those guys that understands micro marketing. I understand farming. I understand how you work a territory until you milk it for everything it has, because a lot of pest control people are losing a ton of money. And I learned this firsthand being in the business when gas prices were at $4 a gallon and a customer wanted me to drive her across town, and across town here is 45 minutes to an hour. Okay, so you want to keep all your customers in very, very close proximity. And we have the way we run our business is if a customer calls, we're there within 15 minutes. As opposed to, wait, I'm across town on the other side. I'm not in that territory till Tuesday, or I can't make it there till tomorrow because that's just a far drive. I understand. And the way I talk to you, and this is going to be, to a lot of people, it's going to make sense. To a lot of people, it's going to seem ludicrous. When I talk to people who want to become franchisees of ours, and I ask them, where do you want your territory? They say, well, I want to be able to go everywhere. And they don't understand that the more they have as a territory, the less productive they're going to be. Because they only need to get their truck up and running, and in that year, about 100 to 150,000 in business. It doesn't take that long to build that up. But it takes long to duplicate that if you're a single person. The hardest thing you're going to be able to do is duplicate your first route. Once you can duplicate your first route, the second route, the third route, it becomes easier. It's a lot easier to duplicate 20 routes to 40 routes than it is to multiply 1 to 2, because you have 100% increase and you don't have any synergy. And you need synergy to be able to duplicate yourself. So the least amount of travel that you can do, the lower your costs, the more customers you can serve in a concentrated area, the more market penetration you're going to have. And when you get to that 18% market penetration, everybody knows who you are. And that's when you have what is called the tipping point in Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Tipping Point, where when you get an 18% of the people in that market to buy your product, you have an 18% market penetration versus having a 1%, 2% here and there, where you're in 5 different cities with one truck running around and nobody knows who you are. So it's the same way on Facebook. And let me show you how you transition from traditional marketing to Facebook. Here's what. I'm going to give you another statistic here based on that study. There is an estimated 8.75 million residential accounts that were serviced either an annual contract or as a one-time clean-out for household pests this year. 8.75 million residential accounts. Now, how many billions of people do we have in this country? Yeah. And how many homes do we have in this country? Well, we have an estimated, back in 2013, there was an estimated 122,952. I believe the total number is over 130 million homes, 130 million and a half homes. And yet, only 8.75% of those homes are being serviced by a professional pest control service. What does that tell you? That our market penetration is really not that great as an industry. Here's another statistic. Only 25% of the market is comprised of people that make $75,000 a year or more. In other words, households that bring in $75,000 or more purchase 25% of the pest control services. That's the target market, okay? In reality, the total market is really less than 10% right now with this economy. Why? Because there is no new construction going on in the world. Not really. The increase is less than 1% a year in new construction. I looked up the statistics. You can go to the U.S. government and look up the statistics on new homes. And there isn't no new growth. So what's happening? Well, the market is really just, we're cannibalizing each other. I mean, all we're doing is swapping customers that were dissatisfied with this company or you came in with a lower price, and the market is just being butchered to death. Here's what in the 2012 edition of PCT Top 100 magazine, a person, and I don't know if this is a she or a he, Iroshi from Rollins, which is one of the largest pest control companies in the world, said this: Rollins has an excellent competition in the marketplace, which challenges it to do better. But he said, so this is a he. He said he'd like to see competitors focus on expanding the category rather than taking away others' businesses. The focus is in the wrong places. In other words, we're competing against taking away the business from our competition rather than creating new business from existing non-customers that are not buying pest control. Industry growth will come from converting 80% of the people who do pest control themselves or hire maintenance contractors, he explained. The worst thing people in the industry can do is trade business when there's a whole market out there that's waiting for professional services. Why? It is much easier to take a customer from an unsatisfied business owner than to go out and create new markets and create new products to service the person who cannot afford pest control. And this has given rise, and you can hate this, but it is what it is, and it is the reality of where we're at. In this economy, it's given rise to people being able to buy over-the-counter pest control products, professional pest control products, from companies like DoYourOwnPestControl.com. Now, this is not to badger them and beat them down because, hey, guess what? They found an underserved market that cannot afford or is not willing to pay for a professional pest control service because most people think they're being ripped off by pest control companies charging what they charge because they don't understand our business model. They don't understand all the regulation that we're under. They don't understand the cost of doing business. They don't understand the cost of marketing. All they see is that this product costs on the web costs $35. I can do 2 years of service with this, and you're charging me $65 or $55 every 2 months or $45 a month to come here, and then you want to charge me $125 to do my initial service. They don't understand. And what they're and a lot of companies are making a very good living at selling products, professional products, to customers that want to do it themselves. Why? Because 80%, and it doesn't change. There's an 80-20 rule to everything called Pareto's Law. And what you got to understand that 20% of the income in the world 80% of the income in the world is owned by 20% of the population. There's a top 20% of everything that controls everything else. If you analyze your business, you will see that 80% of your business comes from 20% of your customer base that are just stay with you, that are always there, that give you the highest profit jobs. It is just, it's almost like a universal principle that you can't get away from. And 20% of customers that buy pest control services are already buying those pest control services. They have been buying pest control services, and they will probably continue to buy pest control services. These are the doctors. These are the lawyers. Here's what you need to understand when you're marketing. A lawyer that makes $250 an hour, works 60 to 80 hours a week, sits down and says, you know what? It cost me $65 for my pest control guy to come here. If I had to do that myself, I would have to learn pest control, which I don't have time for. I would have to go and buy the products. I would have to apply them. And I make $250 an hour. When I'm home, I want to be home. I work 60 to 70 hours a week. That's your client. That's the average client. The guy who he's busy working. He's running his business. He doesn't want to come home on the weekend or come home and do anything. He wants the lawn done for him. He wants everything done for him. And that's the majority of the well-paying customers that we have, or at least the ones that I have. They analyze what their cost per hour is. Now, if you got a person making $10 to $12 an hour, or even worse, making $7 to $8 an hour, and they say a product cost me $20, I can probably buy a bottle of this product and do my own pest control for you. Because here's what they see coming into the house. We have done it to ourselves. They see a guy coming in with a can. He comes in the door, hangs to the right, starts spraying the entire perimeter, sprays the entire perimeter of everything in the house, goes outside, sprays the entire perimeter of that, and he's gone there for 15 minutes and he's gone. He says, I can do that myself. I don't need to pay a guy. That's the image that people have of the pest control industry. So 80% of those customers, okay, are never going to buy your product. Maybe you can get another 3 to 5%. So we're really still fighting for that 20. Unless you're really innovative and bringing a new product to market, a new price strategy, something that they haven't seen before, and that makes it more affordable for them to buy it versus them spending what they could buy it for $20 and you can do service for $20. I don't know. But here's what we need to understand. So here's how Facebook can help you bring in more customers, because the cost of acquiring the customer keeps going up. And if you're going to do direct marketing and you're going to do mailings and you're going to send out 1,000 mailers and you're going to get 2 customers, you spend $600-700 to acquire 1 customer. That's your cost of acquisition, and you cannot afford it. But if you're on Facebook, you can start getting those customers without making a financial investment, but you will have to make a time investment, and you will have to make a mental shift investment. Nothing is really free. You're trading dollars for time in this effort, but if you have the time, or if you have someone like your son or daughter that understands this market and can do this for you with maybe an hour a day of investment, you can start building a loyal following for your business, and you can start making down the road, you can start making some new clients. It's a tactic. It's not an entire strategy. In other words, your marketing strategy should not consist of just Facebook alone. Facebook could go down tomorrow, but it is a tactic that you can use as part of your marketing strategy to get more business. Let's look at this together. Here's what you're going to have to do. Here's what we understand as marketers, that traditional marketing is dead. They just haven't buried the bodies yet. Radio is dying. When that baby boomer generation goes out, most of radio marketing is going to take a big hit. Television is taking a big hit already because nobody watches commercials unless they're really, really funny. Our kids are going to sit there and say, I want on demand. In other words, I want to go to Netflix and watch what I want when I want it. I want to go on the internet and find what I want when I want it. I don't want you to be telling me what I need. And the first thing that you're going to have to do is make a paradigm shift from becoming a salesperson all the time where you're just telling people how great your product is, how wonderful your product is, why they should buy your product. Here's our pricing, here's our strategy, here's this. And give people something they can really use on their daily life. You have to make that paradigm shift from traditional marketing to learning to give things away on Facebook. Now, here's what most people are going to be just up in arms about. If you are afraid that you're going to show somebody something about pest control and they're going to go and do it themselves and they're never going to call you, guess what? They're already doing that. We just discussed that for the last 20 minutes. You got to get rid of that lack mentality that says, we can't tell people what we're doing because people will figure out and they're going to do it themselves. Guess what? You're going to give away 80% of your content to 80% of those people that are automatically going to do it themselves. Your job is to put out enough information that when the 20% see and says, this is the guy that I trust. This is the guy that I want to do business with. This is the guy who's out there trying to really educate people. He's not all about the money. He's not all about everything. This is the guy I want to deal with. He's the most knowledgeable. He's the expert, the only expert that I've seen that's been willing to share with me what they're doing and how they're doing it so that I can make an educated decision. That's the way you have to think about in the new media. That you have to be willing, because they can go to YouTube, they can go to Google, and they can figure it out themselves. They don't need you. The second thing is that you're going to give away some trade secret. Well, here's the reality. There's nothing that you know that the big companies don't know and anybody worth their salt can't figure out on their own. You don't have this great secret on how you do pest control. You might have 5 or 6 tactics that you use that nobody else is using in your neighborhood, but guess what? What I figured out over 25 years of doing business, that I can sit down with 100 people, tell them how to get rich, and nobody will listen because they're not willing to do what it takes to make it happen. So you got to get rid of this lack mentality that says, I can't give anything away for free because if I do, I won't get anything into return. I happen to be a believer that it is more blessed to give than to receive. And there is a law in the universe which is called the law of reciprocity. That if you do something nice for somebody, they will repay you back because they feel obligated to repay you back. And this is what social media is based on, is this law of reciprocity. You tell somebody, listen, I'll show you how to get rid of your problem, even if you don't buy from me. I'll educate you. You know why? Because one day you're going to come across a problem that you can't solve. And I want to be the first person in your mind that you call when you can't solve it so I can come and solve it for you. That's how you're going to get customers on Facebook. That's the strategy. It isn't about the cutesy picture. It isn't about the posting 10 times a day that you have the lowest price in the market. If you go down the lowest price strategy, you will never recover from that. You start out being the lowest price guy, you will always be the lowest price guy, and you will never recover from that because nobody's going to want to pay you more or charge you more. Now, we're going to talk about actual tactics on how to set up your Facebook page, how to do certain things on it, how to get the pictures up there, how to get the perfect size picture that's going to be shared, how to get more shares, likes, and comments on your post. So we're going to get into that right now. Now, the first thing you're going to have to do to get your page set up is you got to set up a page. Don't do it and don't try to sell it on your personal page, but set up a page specifically. So you set up your profile, and after you set up a profile, you go in to set up a page. All right. And that's done really easily. Just go to the settings and just say add a page. And you're going to create a page with the name of your business or as close as you can get to it. And then Facebook will allow you to actually set up that page in a way that you have the name in the URL in that long string, that www.facebook.com/ ours is www.facebook.com/PestGeekPodcast. And so if you search us on Facebook, and what you got to understand is Facebook is just a search engine, just like Google is. And anything you put in there, you can find it just like you do on Google. And we're going to show you how you do that for local marketing so that you can get some free traffic. Now, if you don't have the money to set up a website, I would highly recommend that you focus really heavily on Facebook. Because designing a web page, making it seen by Google, doing the SEO is not going to cost you $1,000. Doing a very good page in, let's say, WordPress, somebody to set up a WordPress page and just set up 5 pages for you, it's going to cost you about $1,000. But your real cost is in SEO work and getting that page to show up on Google, on the first page of Google. And you're going to need to spend between $1,500 to $3,000 a month if you're going to have somebody do it for you, unless you're going to learn to do it yourself. And we're going to be talking a lot about that because we've been able to get our page. We do it in-house, and we've been able to get our page on the first page of Google for our local market. And you got to really start thinking of less is more. The more you narrow down your services, the more you narrow down your territory, the more you narrow down to less, the more results you're going to get, because you can't focus on the whole state unless you have the capability of serving the whole state. But if you only got the capability of serving one county or one city within a county, you will do a whole much better focusing on less and strategizing on less than trying to get the whole world to choose from, because you don't have the budget nor the time to do that. So now you set up your Facebook page. You want to put in your profile page, okay? If you're a solopreneur and you're doing this on your own and you are the brand, then you probably want to put a picture of you in there, not of your logo. You can put your logo on the other picture that's in the background, that big giant picture in the background. But in your small little profile picture, which I believe is 160 by 160 or 180 by 180 pixels, you would set that picture in there and of you. And you're the brand, you're the personality behind your product. If you're a small company, then target yourself as a small company. Don't try to be something that you're not. Because what happens is, if you don't have transparency, people will figure it out and they'll be disillusioned with you, thinking they were doing business with a large company when they wanted to do business with a large company, and now you turn out to be an individual. Don't try to be something that you're not. So on that back page that you have, then in that photo in the back, then that large one, you can go ahead and then you can put your logo there, or you can put any other information. Now, here are things you don't want to put in that picture. And this is going to be a really comprehensive guide to get you started on Facebook for those of you that have not gotten on Facebook. You don't want to put any call to actions in that picture. In other words, you don't want to put pricing. You don't want to put call us at this number. You don't want to put your phone number. Facebook will slap you for that, and they will, you will get penalized for it. You can get your account shut down. You can get your service turned off for a while. You don't want to violate their rules. So no call to actions in the photo. Second of all, no contact information in those photos. There is an about portion that you can put your contact information if people want to contact you. You can do that in the posts, but not up in that picture. Nothing in there that you want to put. You also want to be able to change that picture quite often. And here's why. When you change that picture, it sends a note out to everyone that's following you that you've changed your profile picture in the top. And when you do that, then people can, if you're really good with graphics, or your kids are good with graphics and they can come up with some really cool graphics, people will enjoy that, seeing something different every time they go to your page. Because that's basically, if you're going to be marketing exclusively on Facebook. And people ask me all the time, well, Frank, which is the best social media site to be on? And the simple answer is this: the one that you actually can engage on, the one you can focus on, the one you can interact on, the one that you can pay attention to of what's happening. We're on about 30 social media sites, but really active, we're on 3. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Twitter, and we're on Facebook. Those are the ones that were really active, and all of those have a different target market that we're using. We're not targeting the same people on each one of those. So for general pest control and ornamental pest control and residences and businesses, we are focused on Facebook because it's going to give us the most engagement and the most reach right now where we're at. All right, so now in your timeline photo, which is that big photo across the top, you can brand it. Put your logo in there, put anything you want in there as far as a message that, we service the Tri-County area, things like that. All right, now, if you do have a website, you want to include that in your About page. That's what your About section on that page is what that is for. Okay, you do not want to be putting it in that header section because you will get slapped. Remember that. People do that all the time and it costs them. So you put it there. Now set up a local business or brand. If you're going to be a local business dealing with the county or dealing with a particular city, then I would set it up as a local business. If you're planning to have 10, 15, 20 trucks, 100 trucks out there running around, you probably want to be a brand. We have ours set up as local business, and if we put a new truck and we open up a new office, we will set up a totally new web page, a totally new Facebook page for that city. That's our strategy. We want to keep it local, and we want to focus on local because people want to do business with local people. You don't want to do business with somebody that's 300 miles away from you. Most people want to do business with local people. All right, so that's the strategy there. Link it to your personal page. If you go to your personal page, your profile, you're going to say, I work at, and it says works at, you're going to put the page of your Facebook where you work at, and then it's linked. So then that way you can get your friends and everybody to be interacting. All right. Now, if you have a website, here's what you want to do. You want to get a like box. It's L-I-K-E, a like box for your website. This is especially easy if you're using WordPress because there's an app just for about anything you want to do. You don't need a whole lot of programming knowledge to be able to do a WordPress site. So you want a like box. What this is going to do, check this out. If you have a like box, when a person visits your website, automatically, if they're logged into Facebook, and people stay logged into Facebook, they're automatically going to see their friends in that like box. And they're going to see that people that they know are there, and they're going to say, oh, wow, and they're going to like it, and you're going to get more likes. It is important to get likes, and here's why. You want to get to about 1,000 likes on your fan page, on your page. The reason is, everything, remember, is about numbers. Marketing is a numbers game. It has less to do whether you have the ability to talk a lot or not talk a lot. If you've got 1,000 people, that produces about an estimated 185% increase in traffic to your website. If you have a website and you got likes, more people that you have, the more people that are sharing it, the more customers you're able to get. It's just simply a numbers game. Okay. So you want to do everything that you can to get likes at the beginning. Likes are the most important thing you can get. Now, Facebook, let's talk about engagement in Facebook, because Facebook measures your engagement and decides what they're going to publish to your friends or people who have liked your page. And this is why it's important to get likes, because the moment a person likes your page, whatever it is that you put on your feed, they're going to get. It's not the same as being a friend when you ask somebody to be your friend and then they share. With the likes, the moment you post something, they'll able to see it. So this is important why you need the likes. Okay, so now you're going to focus on engagement. And this is the way that Facebook looks at engagement. They look at likes, they look at comments, and they look at shares. The most important one that carries more weight is shares. They're saying is if people are willing to share what you put out, it is more valuable than people just willing to comment or like it, because they're sharing that information with their tribe, with their group of friends. And that is extremely intimate. So in order for people to share something, You have to, what you're putting out has to be of value. And this is why I tell you that if all you put out is information about your pricing, about your services, how great you are, nobody's going to share that. You got to be able to put information out there that's shareable, that people are winning this. Oh my gosh, this, my friend, he was going through this and this is really going to help them. And people will share that. That's how you get in social media. No engagement, no shares, no likes, no comments. It means your posts aren't going to show up anywhere. All right. Now, if you're going to do a post and you're going to share something on Facebook, you want to try to use images or pictures all the time. Here's why. Engagement goes up about 53%, get more likes if you have a picture versus just text. So now you have to increase. So if you got a funny pictures, laughable pictures will get more likes and shares than doom and gloom pictures. It either has to be very vanilla in between 31 flavors is boring. So if you put something boring out there that's just mundane, like our prices are $29.95 this week, nobody cares. If you put a very funny picture or a very dramatic picture, like a guy who was bitten by a black widow spider and look at his arm just rotting away, that's going to get likes. Just a picture of anything out there is not going to get likes. So be selective. All right. Now I'm going to give you a tip about getting the perfect size. The perfect size is going to be 803 pixels by 803 pixels. That's a perfect square. Because if you put a strange size picture in there, what'll happen is Facebook has to shrink it down to fit. And if the pixels are off, it's either going to get cut or it's going to get shrunk wrong and it's going to look weird. So if you only have time, because this is time here that you're trying to save, choose one size and 803 by 803 pixels. If you're using a program like Photoshop or any other, you're able to figure out how to get the pixels to that. 72 DPI, excellent quality. You can't go wrong with 72 DPI for the web. Make sure your picture is of good quality to start with. You got to make your pictures easy to digest. What do I mean by that? That people can figure out what's going on in that picture very quickly. Remember, people are scanning through. They're moving through and looking for things they like. And if the picture isn't going to catch their eye, then nothing is going to get clicked. So it needs to be very expressive. It needs to be easy to digest. They have to understand what is happening in the picture. Like I said, you want to get to 1,000 fans as fast as you can. All right, so that's the goal. How often should you post? This is always an era of dilemma because you don't want to overpost because it can be seen as spamming, and you don't want to underpost because then you cannot get the engagement you want. Somewhere between 2 and 5 times per day on a 12-hour period is good. If you can only do it twice a day, that's better than nothing. Don't be on there every 15 minutes posting something. I spend an hour a day on just social media as a whole. Most of what I do is automated. The 20% that I want to personalize, I focus on the 80% rule, and I get general things out there. I get news feeds, I get everything out there, and I have that automated. And then I take that 20% of things that I find very interesting, and then I'll post about it. So the way my strategy is this, and I'm going to give you my strategy at the end for local marketing, and I'm going to just tell you the tactics along the way, but I will tell you my strategy and how I'm doing it and see if that gets results for you. Now, as far as text goes, all right, you want to keep that around 80 characters, not 80 words, 80 characters. All the studies show that you get 27% more engagement if you have around 80 characters. You make it too long, people won't read it. You make it too short, they might not read it. About 80 characters. That's very easy. If you have WordPerfect or you have WordPerfect, I'm really dating myself back to the 80s now. I don't think they're even around anymore. But if you got Word and you type in something, what you want to type in, and then you go over, there's a little function in Word that you can go to review. And in review, there's a word count. Well, if you hit that word count, it'll tell you how many characters you have in there without spaces. And you want to do it without the spaces. It's just fine to have the character. As long as you keep it around 80, you're going to get the most engagement. You need to get personal. And what do I mean by getting personal? Post stuff about you that you come across on a daily basis. You came across a problem in a customer's house. Throw a picture of it. Share it. You're at home with your kids. Hey, we're just hanging out this family on a barbecue. Share it. People want to engage with real human people. They don't want to be pitched. So what you want to do is you want to get real engagement. You're going to get personal. We post a lot of things locally that are happening, and I will post that, hey, I'm out at this, I'm at a local restaurant eating. Hey, I'll post that. Hey, I came to this great place at a local restaurant. Check it out. And you're helping out your business that you're in because they're getting a promotion and people are seeing what you're doing. And this is how it works, guys. It's about working together on this. And this is how you do it. Now, you need to get action. You need to tell people what you want them to do. Now, you don't want to do it on every post, but on those posts that you feel that if you got a, if there's a sun, there's a real big problem with a certain insect in your neighborhood, in that area. You want to tell people about it and say, hey, look, this is a current problem that's happening. It's a really huge problem. Please share it with your friends. It will save them a ton of money in the long run. Guess what? People will share it. You got to tell people what you want them to do. You suggest what you want them to do, and most of them will do it. You remember, you want to get actions like shares, likes, and comments. So now you need to go ahead and you need to ask them sometimes to do it because they won't do it. But if you feel it's important, guess what? People will share it. If you got 20 or 30% more shares, wonderful out of it. All right, let's talk about, now we talked about pictures, we talk about sharing, we talk about how many times per day. Let's talk about videos. If you shoot videos, and a lot of people say, oh my gosh, no, I can't do video. I'm just terrible on camera. I don't have the money to pay a company that wants $2,000 per video. I said, look, that's nonsense. Your camera on most iPhones and most smartphones are 1080p. They are high definition cameras, high definition video that you can shoot professional video from your iPhone. I do all of my YouTube videos from my iPhone, and I edit them later in a professional software, but I edit them, I shoot them on iPhone. I got a $30 microphone, that a lapel mic that I attach to it, and a tripod, and I'm good to go. So I don't need to expend a lot of money. So if you're doing videos, you can do some short little videos that you edit yourself, and you put them out there. Now, what you want to do is you don't want to link them to your YouTube channel. You want to be able to bring them up directly from your computer into that blog post. What Facebook wants is Facebook wants people that stay on the platform of Facebook. They don't want them going out of there. So if you put a video from YouTube, it might not get shared. If you put it from, you upload it directly from your computer onto your videos, they're permanently there. People can always go and look at your videos. Plus, they're going to get shared. Okay? Now, you can get more likes with a video and more shares than with a picture alone. Yes, they do take more time. Yes, they do take more effort, but I think they're worth it. All right? So now I'm going to show you what I do to get local customers for my Facebook page. Okay? What I do is, remember that Facebook is a search engine. So if you log on as, let's say your name is ABC Pest Control Company, and you're going to go to your little arrow down button at the right hand of your screen, and you're going to log on to Facebook as ABC Pest Control Company. All right, here's what you're going to do. Let's say you are in a particular city, in a particular town in America. You're going to go up to that Facebook search bar all the way to the left top, and you're going to type in the city and state that you're in. All right? Now what's going to happen is every page that people have put in that are in that city and state are going to show up on you. Okay? Remember, Facebook is getting a ton of information from people that are on. They know what age they are. They know what city they live in. They know when they're online. They know what they prefer to see. They know what they like to watch. They got data on everything. Okay? It's a little scary, but it can work for you. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to type in the name of the city. You're going to start getting and I wouldn't recommend you do this from a smartphone. You don't get the same results. You want to do it from a desktop. And what you're going to do is you're going to put in the name of the city, and then all of a sudden you're going to get all these pages. And what you're going to do is you're going to see all the local businesses that are there. All the local businesses. Well, guess what? They might be a local business, but they're managed by a person. And that's what you got to understand. It's all managed by a person. So you're going to go in and you're going to like their page. You're going to go into their page and you're going to find something interesting that person is doing on their page. And guess what? You're going to share it on your page. You're going to comment on it and you're going to like it. It's about reciprocity. You got to take the initiative to reach out first to then expect somebody to come and return that favor to you. Okay? So you're going to go out and you're going to go and look at the local restaurant and say, oh, wow, that dish looks nice. And you're going to share and you're going to say, hey, guys, I just saw this wonderful dish at this restaurant. Don't you think it's cool? Whatever. And share it. Be genuine. If you really enjoy it, share it. You're going to go back and you're going to go to the next one and the next one and the next one. And look at the groups. You're going to have all kinds of groups that are in your city, a tennis group and this and that. But since you don't want to be spammy and always be talking about your business, you want to share what other people are doing, because then people can say, well, if he shared their stuff, he will share my stuff. You see, and then they will give you an in to their group because you're going to share in the community. So your Facebook page becomes like a community page for your city where everybody knows what everybody else is doing, everybody's interacting. And then once in a while, you get to come in and say, hey, guys, by the way, we're doing this neat stuff. You see, that's how it works. That's how you're going to get the local marketing. You can't focus on the state or the entire country, but you can focus on the thousands of businesses and the thousands of people that are on Facebook in your community. So with that, I wanted to leave you now. If you want to take a look at our page, you can go over to Facebook, and just type in Pest Geek Podcast, one word, and check out what we're doing. We got a lot of examples where we're promoting a lot of cool things that other pest control companies are doing that I say, man, that's just neat. I mean, that is really nice what they're doing. That is really smart. And you guys can learn from each other by sharing from each other. And that's what it's all about. And just be there, be active, be sharing what other people are doing. 80% of the time, 20% of the time, talk about what you're doing. I think that's going to take you a long way. If you're wanting to check us out, also you can check out our news feed at Twitter. We have a news feed where what we do is we scour the web from all the reliable sources from Entomology Today, PCT magazine, Pest Management magazine, and there we just broadcast their news, and you can get it all in one place. Now, what also you can do is we are at the website at www.pestgeekpodcast.com, and there you can see we have a new section there where we started including some really cool tools that I'm finding, and I'm trying some of these tools out to see how they work. So, very, very good info that you can find. You can also reach out to me at Franklin. It's Franklin, Franklin, at pestgeekpodcast.com. And you can send me your questions, your comments, anything you probably didn't like about my podcast. Hey, I'll listen to it. I'm always in a learning state, and I can learn from a lot of people. Everything I've ever learned, I've learned it from somebody else. I haven't come up with anything that's really that original, guys. So we can learn a lot from each other and contribute. Go to the Pest Geek Podcast. Go ahead and comment on there. Share some stuff that you're doing. Put it up there so other people can see it and encourage each other in this walk. Also, you can call the comment line at 707-395-7378. And if you will leave a comment or a question, I can use it on the air. I will. You can also put the name of your company on there and your name and where you're from, and we'll be glad to share it and hang out with each other. Now, other than that, I don't have anything else to share with you. I think this has been a long podcast. We're about 55 minutes now, and I'm going to go ahead and just leave you till next time. Thank you, folks. Thank you for listening to the Pest Geek Podcast. If you have enjoyed the Pest Geek Podcast, please give us a rating, write a review, or subscribe to the channel. You can join the Pest Geek Society by visiting pestgeekpodcast.com. Thank you for listening. See you next time.